to Pins and Needles Kits, and I am Kelly, and today we're going to be working on the project for this month, which is the Tankini Table Runner by Atkinson Designs, and it comes in 3 sizes, a mini, a small, and a large, and we will be making the small today. So the fabrics that we're using are going to be by Alison for Andover Fabrics. We have 2 different batiks of hers, the purple, and then we also have this really pretty kind of yellow-green color. And then also Bella Solids by Moda. So it's going to be a fun little quick, easy project to do. And you're going to be working with 60-degree triangles. And so we actually have a 60-degree diamond ruler that is sent in the box. And so we can use this for multiple things. We can make diamonds out of it, but we can also do our triangles. So in the pattern, we have, we have the actual size of the triangle. So what I did is I lined this up with the small line and put it on the ruler right on that line, okay? And then I also put a little piece of tape up here where the cutoff is, because I was tending to want to turn my diamond around and I was cutting the wrong size. So for you guys, just make sure you put your tape across here and then a little piece at the top so that you'll know which side of the diamond that you're going to be using. All right, so the instructions tell you to cut your strips, and so I've already cut 2 centers, okay? And then also you're going to cut strips for the inner and outer triangles. And so I've already cut all the outer ones, and then I'm going to show you how to use the ruler with the inner triangles. So let me move these out of the way. Okay, so I've cut 2 of them already, and the way this works is you're going to start out with the tape at the bottom, and you'll just line up the top part of this tape with the bottom of your strip, making sure that the edges line up. And the tip is actually going to hang off of the strip just a little bit, and then you'll cut your strip, okay? And I've got a little ding in my rotary blade. Okay, then you'll take this and you'll rotate it so that now you take the bottom part of the tape and line it up with the top of the strip, and your sides line those up as well. Okay, it's important to be accurate. And then you'll cut your strip. So you just do this all the way across, and you're going to do this for the inner and outer triangles, and you just leave the center uncut. All right, so let me get this set up and I'll show you how to sew them together. Okay, so I've lined up the part that I'm going to do next, and so you start with the outer color, and the little cutoff part goes to the top, and then I laid out just alternating so that you can see how it works. So I'm going to take this one and lay it on top of this triangle, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that all the sides line up with each other. So let me get this lined up and then I'll show you. So you're going to see a little bit of the point there. If I turn this over, you'd see a little bit of the point there. So just make sure that all 3 sides are lined up. And then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So if you have a 1/4 inch foot, it really helps to get everything accurate. And a 1/4 inch foot is also called a patchwork foot, and it just means that it's a 1/4 inch from where the needle is to the side of the foot. Okay, so I'm going to put that back on my machine and sew this seam up. I'm using a gray thread. Gray blends with just about everything, which is really nice. All right. I usually do like 1 little back stitch at the beginning and ending. And you need to be careful when you're sewing these together, because you're sewing on the bias, which means that this is very stretchy right here. So if you tug and pull on the fabric while you're sewing, you can cause it to stretch out, and then it's not going to fit together nicely. So let me cut my little threads. And then when we get ready to press, which normally I press after every seam, but I'm going to go ahead and sew these together, you're going to press this towards the to the right. Okay, so towards that inner color there. All right, so we're here, and now we'll take the next color and lay it right sides together. And what's nice about the fabric that we're using this month is the Bella Solids are the same front and back, and batiks are also the same front and back, so you don't have to worry about sewing wrong sides together. You just put two sides together and you're ready to go. So make sure that you line everything up, all the sides. All right. And then sew your next seam. You can pin if you'd like. This is such a small seam, I don't usually pin it. And then you'll open it up. And this is going to be, it should be 1/4 of an inch from the edge to that little point right there. If it's not exact, it's not a huge deal for the project that we're working on. All right, so press again to the right, and you just keep doing this until you have this whole piece put together. Okay, so we have both of our strips sewn together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the outer triangles and then 5 of the inner. And then we need to lay these on top of our 2 strips, and we're going to center strips, and we're going to cut the center strips the same size. So we'll lay this on here, and then we'll put our ruler lining up with the edges of the triangle and cut off the ends. So I'm going to turn this over and turn the ruler over and cut those edges off. Okay. So now let me lay this out so you can see what it looks like. So this is going to be the center, and then this is the outer edge. All right, and then what we have to do is we have to fill in the rest of this area with triangles. So we are going to take a purple, and it's going to go here, and then there'll be a purple here, and then move that out of the way. Have a purple on these ends. Okay, and then we'll fill in with the pink. So the pink's going to go like so. And then we'll put one more here. And here. And here. So that's how it's going to look when it's finished, and then you do the same thing for the other side. So what we need to do next is we need to sew a pink triangle on each end of this and this one, and then we need to sew a purple and a pink on each end of these. So let me do that, and then we'll put it all together. Okay, so I've laid this right sides together on the end of the center, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance down the side. And then we'll open that up, and we would press that with the iron. I'm a big believer in pressing after every seam with your iron. And then now we'll put a pink one on. Line that up. Make sure that all the sides match each other. And sew that seam. So we have both of those on this one side, and then we'll go and do that on the other side. And so we'll get all the pieces sewn on to each of these, and then I'll show you how to put it together. Okay, so I've sewn one side together, and I'll now do the next side. So I have my center and my outer border. We'll put those right sides together. We're going to line up these triangles here. Make sure that that seam is butted up against each other. And then I'll pin that. And then I'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. Pin that. And then I will, and if you want to put more pins in it, you can, and then we're going to sew down this one long length. Okay, we'll open this up, press towards the center, and you want to make sure that you can see the points. I think we did them all correctly this time as well. So once that's all pressed, then you will put these right sides together, and you're going to sew this center seam and line up just like we've been doing. Line up your triangles here and on the other end and pin them and sew that up. Okay, so to finish it off, we're going to layer our batting and our back, and you get 3 fat quarters with the kit, and so you'll take your leftover fabric and piece it together for the back, and you'll cut your binding strips to bind it. So if you don't want to bind it or you're not comfortable with binding, you can actually quilt just through the top and the batting, and when you're finished with that, take the back, put it right sides together, stitch around it, and then turn it right side out, and then just top stitch it closed. It would be an easy, quick way to finish it, and don't have to worry about binding. We also have this, sorry, we're going to send this with your kit, and it's by Heather Bailey. It's quilt binding directions, so that if you need to have instructions on how to bind this is the directions for it, because the pattern does not have binding instructions in it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to quilt, and so I just marked I'm going to be quilting on the diagonal, and I just marked across from this triangle to this triangle all the way across, and then on the opposite side too. And so if you have a walking foot, you can put your walking foot on. This is pretty small, so what I did was I actually just sprayed this with a temporary spray adhesive, and it'll hold it all together, and I can do my quilting. Okay, so I'm going to start in the center and stitch across. I'm going to do all these this way and then turn it the opposite way. And you can pin it if you need to. Like I said, I used a temporary spray adhesive, so it kind of holds it all together. And I'm just going to use a straight stitch and stitch in the ditch with this variegated thread. Turn it around, stitch this one. And you just keep doing that until you get the whole quilt quilted. You can quilt it any way that you like. This is just a quick, easy way. I think this is how she did it in the pattern, so I thought I'd go ahead and do it the same way. Okay, so I have this quilted, and I trimmed the edges, excuse me, so it's ready to be bound. And you just cut your strips 2 1/4 inch. You follow the instructions on the sheet that we're going to send. One thing that I'd like to do when I'm doing my quilts is I will sew my binding on the back of the quilt, and I'll bring it forward to the front, and then I'll finish it off with a little blanket stitch or one of the decorative stitches on my sewing machine. It's quick and easy. You don't have to do any hand stitching, which I know a lot of you don't like to do, and it just makes it really pretty. So these are the 2 different colors that we've done this month, and if you are new to our channel, click on the subscribe button, and that way you'll be notified anytime we upload a new video. So thanks for watching.